Hello, everybody. I'm Patrick Donnelly, Program Director of the Frost Place. Welcome to the second evening of readings of the 2025 Poetry Seminar. If you're looking for an online summer poetry conference where your work will get the focused attention of some of America's finest poet teachers, please check out the poetry seminar at frostplace.org. We'd love to have you join us next year. Our readers tonight will be Amanda Gunn and Nathan X. Osorio. Amanda Gunn is a former Stigner Fellow at Stanford and a doctoral candidate in English at Harvard, where she studies Black poetry. Her debut collection, Things I Didn't Do with This Body, was published in 2023 by Copper Canyon Press. Amanda is our 2025 Gregory Pardlo Fellow, nominated by Greg himself, who has been one of our faculty. Please welcome Amanda Gunn.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Thank you everybody for joining tonight. It's really a pleasure to be here reading with Nathan, and I just want to do a few shout outs. Thank you to Patrick and Stacy and to Gregory Pardlo, who though he is not here, I send that appreciation out into the ether. Also, thank you to Kathy for that beautiful talk this morning, and I'm very much looking forward to Deborah's talk as well. And to all of the poets who are here, who've made the last 2 days of programming such a stimulating and also like lovely, positive environment to talk poems. So I'm going to read a couple of poems, three poems from my book, and then I'm going to read some of my new material. If my cat isn't too raucous. Um, the first poem is called Father at Table. There was what he demanded with one word and a pointing finger: chicken, cornbread, taters. The delicacies his labor both purchased and prepared for us, all his long hours, trying not to interrupt the table talk that had snapped shut and refused him. Not vain, not white folk. He asked only one courtesy, no swearing he could hear. He was a Christian and my father. That God-forsaken finger. How stingy it seemed then. Now, how tender, how pleading. How I bristled at the soft of his voice, an engine rumbling under the hood of our attention. And oh, what kindness I held back, expecting things he would never ask of me. Wait your turn. Say thank you. Say please. This next poem is called Prayer. Lord, let me hand you my body, my burden, it's yours. What will you do with it? My bones have gone to gravel under weight. I loved her. I loved her body as it grew broad, spilled forward, filled in its loosened skin, filled in with new found weight. We stayed at the bar too late. We ate with relish, chorizo syruped with figs. I put my cheek against the fat of her belly. It felt cool. I felt light, as if I had risen, taken a form yet to be baked. I'd stomached every pill I was asked to take. Some filled my gut with a hunger I couldn't sate. So sick from other pills, I halved or quartered meals, misplaced 109 pounds of weight. Women who barely knew me said, "You're so thin, so pretty, so lucky, you've lost a person." It's so, 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 so great. She fed my body, she loved me as I grew plump again, shed my wrinkled skin slowly like heartache. My breasts so heavy, I thought they'll burst. My breasts so heavy in her hands. Can a body burst? I think a body can. I've known its juice. Pills tricked my brain into a motherhood without fruit. I made milk and I burst. I thought, what new thing are you, body? What are these droplets in my palm? I thought, taste it. I thought, maybe you'll remember your mother. You must have felt weightless in her arms. She waits for you to call. You hand her your laden days. She bears you. She gained baby weight to bear you. She lost weight. Her muscles grew slack and weak. A woman who knew her well said, girl, you're wasting away. My mother said, they took you from me in the hospital. You didn't know me. You wouldn't feed. It was our very first grief. Don't taste, no wait for the real thing, the authentic thing, I thought. There will be other milks to taste. There will be the sweet, fat weight of a child my body then refused to make. It was busy carrying weight. Too late, too late, too late. I ask, is this it? Is this weightlessness? I am weak in my bones from this weight. There is bone in the milk of my knees. Oh, sweet Christ, take half my gut or half my legs or half of what's left of my life. You're holding the knife. So the last poem I'm going to read from the book is the title poem, Things I Didn't Do with This Body and Things I Did. I didn't bear a child with it, bear a drunk friend's arm around its shoulders, bear it over a fence in one go, bear it from Harlem to Wall Street by foot, run it until it vomited, run it until it vibrated with joy. Lean it long against a redwood it had hiked to, lay it on the earth beneath the aurora borealis. March it white-laced until it wed. March it in Baltimore for a killed Black man. March it to war until it was dead. Bear a lover eager on its spine. Bear it back to its natal soil. Bear it to the lake's center under the swift, awesome power of its legs. Bear witness, I did not make its child. I didn't bear it to the home it asked me for. Instead, as if by stumbling, as if by walking backward even, as if the beginning and not the end held the drum and cymbal and jazz hands. I bore 3 lovers in its mouth, bore a blue blow to its cheek, bore the snap and drag of the Atlantic at high tide, bared its breasts on that beach, scored its ankle with a knife 12 thin times, bored into the white underflesh of its thigh, bore its scars, bore tattoos to cover its scars, bore hot wax where it was tenderest, bore on its face a heavy, pretty face, bore smoke deep in its tissues, bore the soft, bore the love of its family, withheld from it embraces, withheld from it a decent meal, bore love for the boy who refused it, bore the death of the boy who didn't, bore the weight it made from the pills I had handed it, bore its joints' irreparable ache, bore the turned sweet smell beneath its breast, taught water to bear it so I could rest, bore its sloughings, bore its swellings, bore its manifold solitudes, and on the rare keen nights it stayed with me, I bore its bright, fragrant, solitary, intolerable pleasure. So I'm going to switch gears and I'm going to read two poems from a sequence that I've been working on for the past year called Dream. All of the poems are called Dream, and these are Dream 3 and Dream 10. There are so many things a body can collect into itself. Milk of a mother in a cup of coffee, an omelet from a precious potential. We eat, we express, there is no throwing away. Everything takes up space somewhere. Where did she land, that creamsicle chiffon hostess dress I thrifted at 16, my first copy of Patience and Sarah, slender Bible into which I prayed for love. I eat and release, purchase and pass, a flow of goods through my infinitesimal life. The thought of losing you on a Friday urges me into acquisition, a handbag already nicked on its leather, 3 crystal-caught perfumes, all of them edible, ylang-ylang, soft and golden as warm butter, made mist, made air, made nothing. How long until I am dead broke? How long will I even keep them? Consumption is the best way to forget the police cars, the men thick in riot gear at the foot of your building, your primordial voice roaring into the periwinkle sky, the sound pixelating the sunshine on the most terrible day of our life, us on the ground asymptoting our voices toward you. I will again almost, then certainly lose you. Now, this moment, I understand that. Either to your madness or mine, a way of saying we were born, we were raised, in the breeze our whole skin hurts. Daylight is burning, turning into something else. Memory. At night, I dream of bread I cannot afford. My body is eating itself from its teeth down, from its feet up, though I am instructed to trust my steps. I cannot feel the earth anymore. Oh, my nerves. I took lithium until the spark in my wires died, until the earth fell from me forever, like my favorite book, like you, my sweet brother, alone, terrorized, punching the expanse above a cement balcony, like the most fetching dress I have ever owned and never found occasion to wear. This next poem is called Dream 10. It's the last poem in the sequence. Um, and it just has an epigraph of per grazia ricevuta, which is a very badly pronounced Italian for grace received. Madonna del Bagno Sanctuary, Casalina. They made their sea crossings, tides hellish, the skies knifed open by God's light. They endured the fright of skull wounds, the blood, the gasp before the body's ending, endured birth when birth meant a rending. Each ceramic tile shows a crash of 2 headstrong forces. They endured arms split in half from the unginger tramplings of horses. So many bodies meeting canopied beds, falls headfirst from top-tufted sea pine. Each fall straight into the lap of something not gentle, but divine. They endured ships death dropping off the ends of planar earth, endured on bent knees their souls' lonesome questions, solo journeys through animaled woods, floods, 40 nights, 40 days, all the ways of falling in love and out and in for 50 years, wars, more wars, their fluids boiling brown and pluming from their ears, endured collisions of the flesh with half-ton protocars. If my family had a tile, it would show a funnel of swirling stars, a fissure in the galaxy into which my brother fell. Video calls with coffin manicured experts, upbeat pamphlets, tunneling through the mud warrens of internet threads and group text threads. Have you seen him? Is he skinnier? What has he said? And lists of Pez-colored meds and side effects, the poison vine spread of our imaginations, the sheer varieties of vanished, bleeding, broken, jailed, or dead. The trembling, the thinning, his favorite bartender's emergency calls, his makeshift security systems in the halls, the hand-placed bells, the pacing and pacing, the racing of his voice through chanted spells, the leanings of chairs against doors, and the electricals ripped out hard from the walls. Though were these terrors for us really terrors? See the mailman's suspicious glares, the unkind presence that commandeers his body, the street hunt, the witch hunt, the soul hunt, the drones and helicopters, his brother's networks of slavers, a marriage, the fracture of a marriage, a serpentine brain infection, the ubiquitous inspection, ears listening in every wire, the weight of guard duties, the self-second guessing, the mixed blessing of watchful women neighbors, the breaking of his locks and of his locks, another hospital room without windows or air, the jumpsuits and shuffling, the inmates in rubbered socks, his own sour breath on hot plastic pillows, the thick-necked orderlies, his sister's abandonment, her non-belief, the boots on the ground, boots on the stairs, a tying down, a bungling, a swaddling, a splintering, an existential cleaving. And the worst of all, his own long, slow leaving. And the long coming back. See this tile? He came back on a Saturday in May to our brother's living room, to our unsplit nuclear unit of 5. And maybe not forever, but by some grace, all of us alive. Thanks.
Thank you, Amanda. That was gorgeous and powerful. Dr. Nathan X. Osorio is currently an assistant professor of creative writing at Texas Tech University. His debut book of poetry, Querida, won the 2024 Agnes Lynch Starrett Poetry Prize. He was our Dartmouth poet in residence at the Frost Place this summer, and everyone loved him wherever he went in New Hampshire. Please welcome Nathan X. Osorio.
Hello, everyone. I just want to begin by thanking Amanda for that incredible reading. I'm so honored to be able to share this space with you and your powerful words. I also want to thank Patrick, Stacy, Kathy, and the rest of the incredible the Frost Place team. And also thank you, Carlene. It's good to see you again. Um, I'll be reading a series of poems from my debut, and then I'll also read maybe one or two newer poems. Um, and yeah, thank you so much again for being here and for listening. I'll begin with the poem called Welcome to the Show. I'm a proud son of Los Angeles, and it's reflected throughout my work. So I think I'll begin here. This is a three-part poem. Welcome to the show. 1. I watch my brother fall asleep in the third inning and wonder where the making of the game begins. If it begins with the slow fill of the stadium and its vast parking lots, or with all the beer spilled in cars, their drivers showcasing honest fandom measured in face paint and jerseys embroidered overseas. Or perhaps the game begins before all of that, before the kiss cams and thousand lumen lights, before the hijinks, the cylindrical beak of the Philly fanatic deflecting our eyes from the sweltering employee at his heating core. Maybe it begins at the center of the green diamond, and its pasture brilliant with the dew in the quiet hours of morning, where the immigrant mother heaves the four-wheeled chalker across the Bandera Bermuda grass to become an instrument for precision, transforming space and time into the geometry that sets the stage in motion. Her labor, the machinery that moves us all from the bottom to the top of the inning, monastic like the oil red beads of a rosary, and faithful like an old friend, or the upswell of patriotism in an emergency, in the tomahawk gesture of the Atlanta Braves taken on in unison by thousands just like this, like a communal act of violence, like the synchronized crowing of that mother's son in the nosebleeds and the family man with the season tickets in a cruel ritual of assimilation, the chanting guttural, devouring the alien crisp of October's air, stirring my brother's exhausted head with revolutions of breaking bats and the light pattering feet of anonymous bat boys and girls who lift the baseball from the sanding warning track to fork them over to the desperate children hungry for more game, for more signs of life cracking from the bats of their $1 million heroes plucked from Cienfuegos, Cuba, Culiacan, Mexico, from Incheon, South Korea, to be American all-stars. Or perhaps the game doesn't even begin in the stadium, which now that I think about it, friends, is an extraction site. Like here in LA, where the Battle of Chavez Ravine was fought for 10 years till government promises for public housing raised the neighborhoods of La Loma, Palo Verde, and Bishop, cratering the Elysian Hills for diamond lust and American sport, where the ghosts of Mexican childhoods forever play in the haunted night of the city. The game, if not here, must begin someplace further beyond the offing of recent memory. 2. I inhale autumn and convince myself that the game must begin in the awkward ache of adolescence. In my high school parking lot before the fall classic, where the blonde baseball jock, full of promise, flexes to a ring of cheerleaders all done up with varsity jackets and thick ribbons in their hair, the as seen on TV performance perfectly lit in the new blue of the street lights the city employees methodically installed by swapping each of the burned out bulbs for entire blocks, permanently changing the color of the night. Except in the public archive and our collective dreams, you know how they say we're in it together. In that moment before a sudden death, you are alive. Well, friends, I feel alive right now. And I do hope we are in it together. Misremembering, misreminiscing, or whatever word we've made up for that feeling of saying, I went to the back seat to pretend I was going to make love, how they do in the vintage pornos we found in the mouths of our parents' VCRs, when really nothing happened. The new blue light reaching through the tinted window of my lover's 2010 Volkswagen Beetle to find us imagining the athlete and the blood it must take to flex at the center of a ring of admirers. Maybe in memory, they're not there anymore. But I swear to God, if I close my eyes, I can sense them all, including the irony of those varsity jackets thrown over their beautifully different colored shoulders like veils or the synthetic threads of the home team uniform, which makes us wonder what power we really have when we misremember muscle or the post-game cruise to the In-N-Out drive-through and its cashier whose braveness equips her to reach into the lion's den of our sedan to hand us a $20 order of animal fries. And again, friend, we must ask, which side of the civilian war are we on? Can we ever come back from this moment? As we embrace in the cradle of our back seat, or from within other great American landscapes like the scorched topiaries of the ruined supermall or the atrium of the slaveholders' university, his revered casket, another vacation destination for our adolescent affection, the kind of affection that compels us to these bleachers and maybe to a future cliffside where we feast on the fleeting nuclear sun that swallows the shadows and our flesh until we are perfectly alone. 3. During the seventh inning stretch, my brother wakes to the sound of let me root, root, root for the Dodgers. If they don't win, it's a shame. To ask me if I know that Vin Scully was the first to call home runs moonshots, and I look up out from the pit of the stadium and into the sky to find nothing but the blaring floodlights smothering the ghostly night I only remember in color. Its miraculous bruise black and red washed away by the Friday night fireworks and American jubilation, making it obvious that we are not confined like water in a well. Water, not glass still, but riotous and revolving in a wave, caught in the hypnosis of our own clockwork, of the progression of players whose atoms are electric, sprinting from base to base till they do their part to return home, leaping into our arms so we can embrace them high and proud as if they were our very own. The next poem that I'll be reading for you all is a short poem, and it's called, actually, I'll read this poem here. It's called Self-Portrait as Papi. Papi loves to say, drink the beer. Don't let it drink you. Bobby works long hours at the grocery store, and if I add the overtime, the holiday time and a half, the accrued sick days, and subtract the company luggage gifted for 30 years of labor that he'll never use, I wonder if he's ever left that place. However, for certain, Papi is drunk in the backyard. Tomato red despite the bedrock ochre of his skin. In Los Angeles, there are signs of drought, signs that even the roaring wildfire can die from thirst, but you couldn't tell here. The slow gush of water reaching both the bush with roses only slightly larger than his heart, and the sticky bin spilling over with crushed cans of Miller Lite, an altar of aluminum, an open grave. Papi makes beautiful things. But what can I make of the empty vessel and its relationship to his heart? It's years later now, and I have yet to gather the courage to name the thing. Despite the courage, I spent summer afternoons collecting bottle caps encrusted in the garden soil, despite the courage of ritual, of unfurling his damp socks to witness his tomato red feet, red like those roses and still hot with the Goliath distance of his 12-hour shift at Food for Less. After a day at my desk, I walk into my garden and unfurl my socks, lift my shirt over my shoulders to reveal a blue softness, unbuckle my pants until I'm left with myself. I don't need the contours of reflection to know the contours of my body, to know the stubborn ways I wear his. This poem is called Procession of Flies. The tongue remembers all kinds of things, like your name and the blood I wring out from it. I lift the lid to find the sow's head, its gaping mouth a cave where a muscle had been pulled from its roots. It says, No, primo, you've got it all wrong. A butcher's fever isn't for gold, but for the long hours in darkness. I fish out the bougainvillea petals from the aqueduct and let the casinos slip away into daylight. When we see the cassette's black ribbon and how it strangles the roadside shrine, you ask, Hijo, do you think I could have been someone? Your body tumbling miles down the road. This poem begins with a brief epigraph from MFK Fisher, and it states, Probably one of the most private things in the world is an egg until it is broken. This poem is called How to Cook a Wolf. My mother fell in love with the way you cracked into an urchin, how you kept the blade along its purple skull until it welcomed you, anxious to be separated for the first and last time. Listen, from our window, we can hear the Southern Pacific fume in the station. The turquoise room in the pleasure dome is only for the long-fingered and bored. So come with me and climb onto the roof. Sometimes I remember best when I put my back to the warm cinder block. Other times I have to reach my arm across your shoulder to find where you end. Darling, if you find me first on the desert road I strung together with pins of light, or in the aqueduct blooming with graffiti, this is where the sweet rot of leaves is coming from, where the colony of urchins swarm beneath the dock, where the twirling blades of the Black Hawk lift your hair. We have been careful not to admit that we have wolves in parts of our home we no longer visit. We have been careful to ignore the infinite snarling of daytime. So come up for breath and forgive me nights you can't sleep. Yes, I will keep my ear to the floorboards and listen closely for the sound of her parts assembling. Her lonesome days are spent at the ocean front, the place where she drags out her dead. I've brought you a canasta of strawberries, the marble kind of gift from your childhood. These things have been outside your reach until now. I'm going to read about two more poems for you all. Um, Actually, I'll go ahead and read one more poem, and if there's time, I'll read a last one. So I had the complete honor and privilege of spending a good chunk of my summer at the Frost Place, and I arrived in early June. And for those of y'all who you've heard this poem before, but I'm so proud of it in that I wrote it at the Frost Place that I just want to keep kind of saying it out loud and figuring it out as it figures me out. So this is a new poem, and it is in conversation with my time at the Frost Place and with the other poets in residence who I was interacting with through all their books and works that were present in that magical place. This is called My City Under Siege by Secret Police. My Heart Breaks in Franconia, New Hampshire. A study of On the Porch at the Frost Place, Franconia, New Hampshire by William Matthews. So here we were, not quite standing, so much as recovering, on the porch's wicker couch or inside the living room, lock-eyed with the stone maw of the hearth and stirring awake after a night of death rolling through sweat in the corner room of the farmhouse. The air-conditioned sanctuary, no match for the nocturnal exhale of heat through timber frame and single pane window. Yet we would all eventually emerge from this place like the whistle pig beneath the barn, groping through the June darkness of the imagination, searching for the parts needed to machine together that elusive sprite of internal music. William urges us to be fierce against ourselves, to see past the disguises of Frost's natural world, this emerald refuge he fled into from hay fever and Spanish flu. How familiar, despite a century. Now, Bill, if I may, I must admit that I'm finished with fierceness and prefer the faint effervescence of mist arcing her back over Artist's Bluff until she disappears. I won't pretend to have known the name for the tamarack that frames our view into the valley, now grown a full 20 feet more since you last saw them, but they remind me of the pine in the northeast of LA, singed by cycles of wildfire. Unlike Frost's children who saw dragons slip out from the notch, as a young boy, I didn't see a serpent spark the chaparral or fan the glow of fire front, which might have soothed the sight of the police interceptor parked in front of my house like a lighthouse cutting through the ash red afternoon. No wonder when I wake up on my first morning in Franconia to the footage of another Ford Explorer punching its cattle guard into the gut of a woman howling, "Let him go," as she's pulled under. I can feel the small ember of my heart flicker. No wonder I can still see that same Explorer rev its engine until it breaks free from the ring of grad students demanding the living wage they've earned. The Explorer fishtailing out from the underneath the live oak and over the university lawn, shredding grass in its wake. No wonder when the young man stopped at our porch doorstep last night on his bike ride from Maine to New York to let me know that the one book he brought on his journey was New Hampshire. I lied to him, insisting, "I wish I could let you in." As if I hadn't seen my fair share of vampire flicks and didn't know better than to be caught dead. So maybe I'm not living up to the promise of this place. When I run out to the porch to catch a torrent of rain, break through the heat dome, and lift my arms in disbelief, disturbing the paper wasp that promptly stings my forearm as if to urge me not to be so soft, or to watch the barn orb weaver's exoskeleton twirling upon a lace of silk in the eaves, and remember the phone call with Boppy, wherein he tells me that in the break room a friend insists, "If you don't see me tomorrow, it's because of ice," which is an admission of what you might call summoning the wrath of ferocity to accept the thing barreling at you in disguise. On this porch, it can feel like even the cedar waxwing that perches atop summer's copper lilac has turned its back on me. Oh, these swift and aching summers, like my morning jogs, further and further into country, past stone walls draped in velvet moss, through the racket of leaves dominoed into applause by first heard then felt wind, past the stable across the airport adorned with the mowed runway and vintage biplanes. Again, I must admit I'm not moved by any of it. Not by the mauve spears of Lupin, not the horses donning masks knitted with the 2010 t-shirt quips, especially not the posed artifacts of the gentleman farmer, but only by the mystique of water. Behind the porch, there is a trail, and to begin to live with my fear of the footage of wreckage and of living in nature alone, I take a mug of whiskey a quarter mile into the forest, where I heard what at first I thought was a growl, but became a burble. From within the tapestry of rot and lady ferns, the gushing of spring I could not see, but feel beneath the ride of green. By the time I'm back at the porch, whiskey bravery simmers to doubt, and I step over the bramble. The unrelenting robin labors each day to the rafters for her nest, and before the last light is shut away by the closing lid of the sun, I wonder if we will be around long enough to watch the day lilies bloom. Thank you so much.
Amazing poems, Nathan. Thank you to Amanda Gunn and Nathan X. Osorio. This online room was a very special place to be tonight. Our reader tomorrow morning will be Deborah Paredes, and in the evening, Reyes Ramirez and myself. Goodbye for now.